This is a story about a season, a story about triumphs and failures. The summer roared in with the formation of 10 teams, all entering with championship aspirations on their mind. Each battled hard from their first practice to the final score. But now, only 2 teams remain, and only one can be left standing as the summer fades away. Will experience prevail, or will a new generation plant their flag at the pinnacle? One final triumph awaits. The World Doom League proudly presents the DemonSphere Championship Classic 11.
Welcome one, welcome all to the Summer 2021 Championship Classic. I am Xenaero, and I am joined by the always lovely, always dashing, always prepared co-caster KBlair. How are you doing, Blair?
I'm doing great, Xenaero. It's week 8, our last week, the DemonSphere Championship Classic 11. 2 teams come out, one team comes out with the crown, the other team comes out, well, I don't know, very salty.
Only one team is going to take the title, and they're going to take it all the way. We have 2 teams that have fought hard all season long. Both have had their challenges, but they are here at this best of 5 final match. Blair, why don't you talk about Onslaught, the team that in the boys in blue? What do they have for us?
The boys in blue, Onslaught. So, a little over 2 weeks ago, Onslaught secured their finals berth with a 3-0 victory over Dosu and Friends. Now, based on that performance on their home field, Mephitic Waste, and we'll get into home fields later, Dastin played offense, Seneca played a little bit of mid and offense, and Dranzer generally played defense. And now, Onslaught hasn't played Rip and Tear's home field yet, but the positions are likely to stay the same on Lazarus Reinvented. In a pinch, Dastin may put himself on defense, as he's done most of the season, send Seneca to run and Dranzer to mid, just in case they need a little more frag power in the mid there, if that's what Dastin decides is required. Now, Onslaught is favored as the higher seed team going into this match at number 2, but they must face the Rip and Tear team fresh off upsetting the number 1 seed Superchargers. Now, matching up against Rip and Tear in the regular season, Onslaught handed Rip and Tear a loss at Week 5 on Insane Gunslinger Compound. They won in 2 rounds and didn't really show a sign of weakness. However, this playoffs Rip and Tear team is a new team reborn and will absolutely be sure to study the tape of that game to determine their strategy against a dominant Onslaught team. Now, team captain Dastin looks to secure his first finals win as a captain. His running performance on Mephitic Waste will really dictate Onslaught's chances of victory. He's pretty dominant on that map. And his ability to think on his feet will be tested this week by playing and making necessary changes on a map his team's never played before, Lazarus Reinvented. Now, Seneca looked to play a mid-O role here, offering occasional help to the Transfer side of the map. Mid on a map like Lazarus Reinvented is pretty taxing. You got to know where every player is at all times. Seneca may be sent to offense instead on this map. We'll see. And Dranzer is expected to be a true defender for both maps unless Dastin calls an audible. This season, he's proven to be proficient on all positions on any map he's encountered. And this ability will be huge in determining performance of Onslaught. Now, Xenaero, tell us about the red team, Rip and Tear.
Thank you, Blair. I would be happy to. Rip and Tear, after winning 3-1 over the number 1 seed and then undefeated Superchargers last week, Rip and Tear secured the chance at a title shot. Based on last week's performance on their home field, Lazarus Reinvented, Stall played defense while Dragon played a mid and offense role, and then Skull Rush played straight offense. Rip and Tear hasn't played Onslaught's home field, Mephitic Waste, at all because the teams have not crossed paths, but the setup is likely to stay the same there. Stall may switch things up by making himself mid and have Dragon play defense if things go south on that home field. Rip and Tear is a team that faced adversity and finished the season with a 2-game losing streak going into the playoffs, before winning out and earning a finals berth. Rip and Tear is the underdog in this matchup, but they have shown an ability to outplay higher-seeded teams. After all, they are here in the championship match. Matching up against Onslaught, Rip and Tear lost in Week 5 to them, and that privilege to play a finalist and opportunity to absorb their playstyle may prove crucial in this matchup. Now, Team Captain Stahl, looking for his first finals win as a captain. His Stonewall defense on his home field, Lazarus Reinvented, Map 06, was key to his victory over the Superchargers. The ability to repeat that performance will be crucial in winning this matchup. His wit as a captain will be tested, as Dastin's run ability on his home field may prompt changes in the Rip and Tear setup. Dragon finds himself in the finals yet again. His mid and run support last week on his home field was top-notch, and will look to use the same formula against Dranzer and company. Dragon has good enough frag power to defend if Stall calls for it on any of these maps. Dragon is also a very aware player, able to play any position at any point. Skull Rush's elusive running ability and deadly frag power makes him a formidable runner and a tricky offensive lineman. He can make all the trick jumps involved in the 2 maps that will be played and can match Dastin's ability, not the least of which is very clever rocket jumps. I don't see a position change in the cards for Skull Rush. Now, we're done with introducing the teams, but if you're new to Doom Capture Flag, if you're new to this championship matchup, and you're wondering, what are Map 14 and what's Map 6, what's Lazarus Reinvented, what's Mephitic Waste, well, wait no longer because we have this here for you that will show both maps.
Welcome to the home field of Onslaught, Mephitic Waste. Along with the blue armor in the middle, Map 14 offers a variety of routes to the flag, including this short one with a lift jump. Outside of the main base, there is a rocket launcher which can be picked up to help later for a rocket jump. A large lift at mid can be lowered to allow you up top to drop down on top of the enemy flag or to capture your own. An outgoing runner may choose to rocket jump and then hop over the gap to capture a flag in record time. This map will be seen in rounds 1 and 2. The following map will be seen in rounds 3 and 4, and then alternate from that point on until a winner is decided. Welcome to the home field of Rip and Tear, Lazarus Reinvented. The main route on Map 6 takes you right into the action, with a showdown against the defender of the enemy team. A slow lowering gate marks an alternate route, or a teammate could also trigger it from the other side to open a shortcut. The water side gives you hard cover at the cost of time and can be a great hiding spot in a standoff. Going through the tunnels at mid allows for a back route near the teleporter, but a defender can also hear you dropping the acid. The playoffs are determined in a best-of-5 format, where each round, the team with 5 flag captures or the team with the most flag captures at the end of 10 minutes is the winner.
All right, and that is your look at Map 14 and Map 6, the respective home field maps for Onslaught and Rip and Tear. And we have something extra for you guys, a little treat that we did last season during the championship match. We have a panel. Listed on that panel are myself, Xenaero, co-caster KBlair, and we will have 3 additional guests here joining us in a second. But first, I'm going to kick it off with a prediction. Now, we saw Onslaught rip through their side of the playoff bracket with effective ease. Now, it's a best of 5, which means that we have to have a winner in a title match. If the results are tied at the end of round 5, it will go to round 6, round 7, until we have a victor. So this could go on for a while. But that being said, with Rip and Tear's performance in the semifinals against the Superchargers and defeating a team that had yet to lose a round, I'm going to predict an upset. Rip and Tear. KBlair, what is your prediction for this championship match?
So this is going to be a hard one because both these teams are pretty damn stacked. It's a really, really good matchup for each other. However, Dastin, I think, is still pretty controversial to say, but I think he's the best player in the world when it comes to running. Pretty damn good when it comes to defense. I'm going to have to say he puts Onslaught over the top.
And with a pick for Onslaught on the panel, we're going to start bringing in our special guests. The first one is actually the host of the Dead Simple podcast, who has given us some light to the multiplayer community and is worth checking out. And he's also the captain of one of the teams, the Electric Bills, during this summer 2021 season. We want to welcome HateDaddy, also known as Hatred, to the championship broadcast. How you doing?
Greetings all. Thanks for having me, Zen. Hello, Blair.
All right.
And I am well. How are you guys?
Doing good. What is your take on this season, these two teams, and last but not, of course, not least, we need your prediction for the championship.
So, as a player and as a captain, this was one of the more rewarding seasons that I've participated in, even though I'm not at this point where I'd like to be in the match itself, because it was a very competitive season. Every team was very good. All the players involved were very good. Even when we would practice, we would often play against really stacked teams. That said, I think that we have gotten to the point now where it's not about stacked teams anymore. Every team is stacked. That's been the case really for the last 2 seasons in the WDL. So I think now we're just at a point where you need to do more than have a stacked team to win. You need to have adequate strategy. You need to have efficient execution. You need to be well practiced, and you need to be experienced. So both of these teams bring a little bit of that. They've got very good work ethics, very good practice ethics, and overall, they are filled with an enormous amount of experience. I mean, you look at somebody like Stal, I think this is his 5th championship. He's going for number 5, but I think this is like his 6th or 7th championship appearance. It's something absurd. Ralph will have to clean up on that, but I know this is either tying a record or setting a record for championship appearances when you combine the WDL and IDL eras. I think both teams, these were probably the 2 best teams in the regular season. Or not in the regular season, but overall. And I think that Rip and Tear really hit their stride during the postseason. And I think that's what they were built for. They were built to get to the playoffs. And once they got to the playoffs, then it's like, okay, let's focus in and dial in on the maps. But on the other side, I look at somebody like Dastin and his team, and I just see a team that's got so much versatility that it's hard to compete against that. I agree with Blair. I think Dastin's the X factor here. Rip and Tear is probably the safer pick. But if Dastin goes crazy, forget about it. Like, this is over in 3. So Rip and Tear is going to have to really zero in on controlling Dastin on Mephetic Waste. And obviously, with them being the one that does not have the home field advantage, they're going to have to get a game on Mephitic Way. So obviously, that's key and crucial to them. I would probably feel safe picking Rip and Tear. My heart is with Rip and Tear. But I got to tell you, man, I'm on the Dastin hype train, and I'm with Blair. I think Onslaught takes this in 4. I think it'll be a very fascinating and very close and competitive series. I think it's going to be a dogfight. You're going to see a team that's fragging. Both teams that are going to be fragging really well, supporting really well, covering really well. You name it, they'll do it well. The only thing I worry about with Dastin is, on one hand, he's going to be an offensive player and then turn around and be a defensive player. That's a hard switch. So that's going to be the key, I think, and we'll have to just see how it plays out. But yeah, I think I'm going to go with Onslaught.
All right, and that is another pick for Onslaught. That's 2-1 so far as the panel goes. Now, the next guest, first of all, thank you, HateDaddy, for joining us. And our next guest is the captain of the Sexual Panthers during the summer 2021 season, also the commissioner of the Multiplayer Doom Federation. We want to welcome to the floor HumanBones to this panel. How are you doing, Bones?
I'm doing great. How's everybody else doing?
We're doing good. Now, why don't you give us your feelings on how this season shaped up competitively, what these two teams are capable of, and, of course, your prediction.
Yeah, I feel like we say this every season, but to me, the most successful WDL season yet. 10 teams, once again. We had some new captains step up, and I thought, Dosu and Dastin in particular really exceeded their expectations. And from the beginning of the season, Rip and Tear, I think they walked away from the draft probably with, on paper, the strongest looking team. They struggled a little bit towards the end of the season, but, when they got into the playoffs, they took that adversity and they turned it around, made it to the finals. As far as Onslaught goes, they were a harder read. You weren't really sure because they have two people that had never played in the WDL before, in Seneca and King Dime. So, their season was kind of put together and they sort of figured themselves out on the fly, which is really, really admirable. They performed really well. And I wanted to talk a little bit about the maps this season, the map list. I think if you take a look at weeks 2 and weeks 4 in particular, week 2 is probably the map that could have potentially broken a lot of people's spirits. And it turned out to be one of the most exciting maps ever, I think, in the whole league. So that was a great pick. And then to introduce the BFG in week 4, just continuing to add different elements to competitive capture the flag, to continue raising the bar. I was a huge fan of the map list this season, even if my team did not perform so well on most of them. But yeah, I thought that was a really strong aspect this season. And looking at, how Onslaught played on their own home field, it's so hard to deny, their ability there. And we've all highlighted Dastin. But I do want to give a shout out also to Dranzer and Seneca and King Dime. They've all played really well this season as complementary pieces to Dastin putting together, what could be an award-winning, or what was an award-winning season, actually. And then on the other side, you have Rip and Tear, who picked, they picked map 6, which layout-wise, we all know. But it's a little bit of an updated layout, so it plays a little bit differently. They've had their struggles this season. They had their struggles on that map in the playoffs for about half a round. So, I think that's something that they have to take a look at. If I had to give a prediction, I would have to say Onslaught takes it in 5, if not maybe even 4. I think watching what Dastin did on map 14 is really scary. And map 6, there's more room for those kind of rocket jumps. So I think this is Onslaught's game to lose. Rip and Tear's got to come for them really quickly here.
All right, and that is another prediction from the panel for Team Onslaught. Now, thank you again, HumanBones, for showing up for the panel today. Appreciate that. And last but not least, we are going to introduce the commissioner of the World Doom League. Without him, none of this would have been possible. He's also the captain of the Superchargers, a team that had, until the semifinals, not lost a single round before losing to Rip and Tear, who are now in the championship title. But enough about that. Welcome to the floor, Ralph. What are your thoughts on this season, the competitiveness of it, and how it shaped up, and these two teams, and just go for it.
Sure. Well, Zen, thank you. First off, I want to thank you for putting a little dirt in my eye, reminding me of what happened in the last round. It feels like every year my Superchargers end up making it right before the big dance, and we come up short. So hoping to remedy that within the next 10 or 20 seasons. We'll see what we can do. But as far as this season, so this is our 11th WDL season. And in the combined lineage of the WDL and the IDL, this is our 26th season, which is pretty impressive. 26 seasons. Next year, we're going to be going on 15 years of this. And, I think it's a testament to kind of what we've created with this mode. At the time that the IDL was started back in 2006, 2007, Capture the Flag really wasn't entirely established as what it was going to be competitively. We chose that 3 versus 3 format at the time. We've slightly evolved it, but for the most part, it's stayed the same for the past 15 years, all the way back on Z-Damon. And it's really been impressive to see the amount of players that we've had come through our system. I looked last year. I don't have a number right off the top of my head, but I think it's something like 250 to 300 individual players have come through. And it's pretty impressive numbers for this level of play. So, big thanks to everybody over the last 15 years. This season in particular, I feel like this is probably one of, if not the best, most competitive WDL seasons. We were able to stay at 10 teams again for the second time. And we had some new captains, as HumanBones had alluded to, with Dosu and Dastin. And Tursko also jumped in as a captain for the first time. So it's been a pretty good season. It was very competitive to the final week. Every team was still in it, and even through the playoffs, it wasn't totally clear what was going to happen. We had Dosu's team make a playoff run. They were the number 6 seed. They had a big upset, and even here in this game, Rip and Tear might not look like an upset, but they were also the number 4 seed, and they beat the number 1 seed that had never lost a game. So pretty fun season, kind of unpredictable at times. And that's what you want out of this sort of thing, right? It's exciting. You're not going to be able to always guess what the winner is. And we're looking at that here tonight. I don't think you're going to be able to take a look at either of these two teams and say for sure, okay, like this is going to be the winner. You can already see on the panel that the voting is kind of split here. And, it remains to be seen. I think either of these teams can win tonight. Before I give you my prediction, though, I just want to say a couple thanks. If you want to start the music like the Oscars and pull me off at some point, feel free to. But there's a lot of people that put their time and their energy into this for free, or in some cases they actually pay money, and they make this a fun experience for everybody. Nobody has to pay to play in the WDL. Nobody has to pay to watch it. It's just entertaining for a lot of people, and there's a lot of different faces that make that possible. So I'd like to thank some of them right now. Number one, I have to thank KBlair. He makes things tick behind the scenes. He put the new website together this year. It's going to only improve going forward. We're working towards trying to automate these seasons and keep everything just moving and smooth, like a well-oiled machine. And he's a huge part of that. He's always been a huge part of our team, but he's really come up huge this year. And KBlair, I appreciate that very much. Zen, you've been running these really cool streams all season, just as you did last year. You're only getting better, and you could tell that people really enjoy them. Every week there's more and more viewers starting to watch, and I think that as we go forward into next year, these streams are going to continue to become even better, and we're going to find better ways to connect with people that they're not necessarily everybody's going to be a player in this league. And there's a lot of people that like to play, the yellowtails of the world that like to watch and see what's happening. So that's very interesting to us. I know that it interests you, and I hope that we can continue to kind of build that audience and show them how awesome this game of 3 versus 3 Doom CTF is, because it's a little bit different than regular Doom. It's kind of a modified game with jumping and free look. So it's our game, and it has evolved, and it's very fun. So you do a great job of showing that to the world, so to speak, and really appreciate that. I want to thank all 9 captains that signed up this season. The captains, I cannot say this enough. Captains make this league run. It is so important to have good captains. We had 10 good captains this season. I want to thank the other 9 that weren't me. Yeah, I threw myself in there as a good one. Other 9 that weren't me: Bones, Ty, Stal, Dastin, Dosu, Turska, Alpha, HateDaddy, Caution. All 9 of you, thank you so much. You made the season go very smoothly. Another huge shout out to Chow and Alex Max on the Yodamex team. These guys help us out all the time, every season, especially when we come to them with last minute bugs right before the season's about to start, and they take their time and they dedicate that time for free to helping make sure that our league runs well, and we appreciate that so much. So huge shout out to those guys, particularly Alex Max this season. He helped us out big time. Rude, aka Rice, he has created the betting bot that we've been using the last 2 seasons. People have been having so much fun with that. And right now I'm looking at the pools. OS is favored 72% over RIP right now, with the biggest pool of the season. Everybody's throwing all their money in. The betting bot on our Discord is so much fun. Thank you for that, Rude. And I also want to just thank our players. We have a lot of players in this league. We had something like 37 or 38 get an opportunity to play this season. I'm hoping that going forward we can move to 12 teams. That would be the goal. We can get more people playing, more people involved. All the old players, there's no way I can name everybody, but some of the new players that have shown up this year: Nexus, Seneca, Tiger, King Dime, Vinny, Slared. I'm sorry if I missed you, but those are just kind of off the top of my head. These guys are all great players. XWiz came back. It's just been a lot of fun. So I'll stop with the thank yous because I know we want to get to a game here in a moment. But as for my prediction, both teams this season have been very awesome. Onslaught has really come on as of late. They got a little rocky in the middle there. Rip and Tear had a bad end of the season. There's no doubt about it. They lost their last 2 games in the regular season. They won their last 2 in the playoffs, so that's what matters, right? So both the teams are here. Both teams are very qualified to be in this position. And I think at a glance here, OS is going to probably have the advantage in this game. They get to play on their home field as the higher seed, so they're going to get to start out, play their game twice. Dastin and his team are excellent on their home field. We saw that in the beginning of the playoffs when they basically blew out the worst ever team, WST. So with that said, last week they showed some signs of cracking when Dosu and friends, they actually tied around with them there. So I think that was a template for Rip. I think that Rip could surprise here, and I've been punished for betting against Rip in the past, so I'm going to say it's going to be a very close game, and Rip and Tear is going to win in 5 with a tie on map 14 somewhere in the mix. So Rip is going to narrowly win. If OS wins, I am not going to be surprised. Both teams are very capable. I think that Rip is going to take both games on their home field. If they can just tie one of those games, I think that they're gonna take it slightly. I would not be surprised if they don't, though. So Rip, let's see if you should always be bet on or not.
All right, and that is a prediction for Rip and Tear. Thank you to Ralph, commissioner of the World Doom League and captain of the Superchargers this season. Thank you so much for the shout-outs. Thank you to everybody on the panel for participating, giving predictions, giving some props to the league. And, of course, thank you to all the viewers at home. You're all fantastic.
Yeah, thanks for the shout-out. Made me feel nice and warm and fuzzy. Love it. You love to see it.
All right, and that will be it for the panel discussion. We'll be getting right into the server here in just a second. Players are filing in already as I look in the server browser. Blair, do you have any, I don't want to say last words, but you know how it goes.
Any last words? Not really. I mean, that was really good coverage by everybody on the panel there. We are about to start. Rip and Tear's already in the server. We're just waiting on Onslaught to finish up practice, so should be soon.
So yeah, we're teams are getting their final practice rounds in right before the championship game. A little bit of bleed over time before the game starts proper is to be expected. I mean, it is a championship game after all. But Team Captain Daston has just joined the server, and we have something to also bring up. Stahl is now the only other player to make it to 7 championships across the International Doom League and World Doom League, other than Ralphis himself. If he wins, he will join a group of only 3 other players to have 4 or more championship wins. The other 3 noted are Water, No Star, and Torvald. Old names that have not seen the World Doom League in some time, if at all. But we do have a storied history between the International Doom League and World Doom League, as Ralphis had noted in his panel discussion. We're just waiting for the rest of OS to file in, but with Daston here, it should be getting underway in short order. And I'm also noticing none of that lovely music. You love to hear the background music in Doom.
Yep, should be underway shortly. I just believe they're just waiting on Dranzer or whatever 4th. I guess that'd be King Dime. I don't know if he's getting the start today, but pretty sure I saw Dranzer on these practice servers. He's just maybe he got up, went to the bathroom, got a drink, got a snack, which is what you guys should be doing before the game, because once it starts, it doesn't stop.
And one thing we just saw Daston do while they were warming up is there is a trick jump you can do. It's much tougher in this revised version of the map, but if you get up on this platform, you can SR50 jump up to this platform. If you catch this little lip right here, it is possible to get back into the sewer route. So that's definitely something to watch from our more talented runners like Skullrush and Daston. And, man, you never know. You never know what's going to happen in a game like this. The technical maps 14 and 6, I mean, these maps are extremely technical in nature, so we're going to see a lot of different plays, a lot of flexibility from both teams, and it's going to be pretty exciting.
Yeah, I expect to start off high-flying action, huge frags going both ways, a lot of reckless play, and then I expect both teams to really tighten up as, the gravity of the situation just sort of falls into their minds. This is the finals, this is it.
And be aware that while these maps may be technical in nature and execution, there are the midfield on both this map and on map 14 are they're tough to control, but there's a lot of frag power that happens out there. When we saw the showdowns that would take place during the playoffs with Rip and Tear on their home field, this map there was a lot of frag power happening in the middle, so it will be a slugfest no matter how you slice the pie.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting seeing how Dragon can keep up against Daston and Seneca. During the last week, their game 2 weeks ago, those two were just the combination of Stall and Dragon is just impossible to break through. As we're starting to vote,
and the vote for the first map in the map list. Remember, we will be seeing Onslaught's home field, map 14, Mephitic Waste. We'll be seeing that in rounds 1 and 2. Teams are calling ready. They got their demos, they're ready to roll, and we're off. Starting off watching Team Captain Stall as we get into the first round of the World Doom League Championship match. Moving over to Drancer for that first touch. Skullrush tries to get back. Daston up top with a respawn right on top of the flag. Daston is across, and first blood is drawn. 1-0 for OS in round 1.
Yeah, 20 seconds in, Daston abusing that top route like he always does. And it bears fruit for him again. 1 flag already.
It's, I mean, that's not a great sign for Rip and Tear to go down 1 flag so early, at least mentally. Having having them cut at you like that so early on, it proves that you are vulnerable defensive-wise, and OS took the opportunity. But Dragon's trying to get out of the base. He cannot. He can't even cross the midfield point. But Skull Rush jumped across. He made it all the way across. He needs to be returned. He ate a rocket for his trouble. Seneca with a phenomenal return. A failed rocket jump, but still the most important thing there was to return the flag. Dastin with a pickup across. Could not get the one shot across mid. Seneca, failed rocket jump. And he's being dogged down, but he can make a cross. He lowers the lift and tries to go out through the midpoint, but wastes valuable time trying to get across.
Yeah, we caught Seneca shaking his mouse in frustration after he respawned there. I guess he frustrated himself that he couldn't get the lift down, but a very close run.
Yeah, a match like this with this many great players. Well, Seneca's across already. They have to return the flag. He's got one defender behind him. It gets dropped and returned. Skull Rush may be clear and free, but he's only got 5 health. Blue flag dropped and then picked up by Stahl, escorted the rest of the way. Great teamwork and synergy from Rip and Tear to even out the score in round 1, 1-1.
Yeah, great cover by Rip and Tear in their own base. I mean, they made it look trivial, you know, like clockwork. It's really hard to do, to train those flags.
Dastin with blue armor. Remember, blue armor does provide a 50% damage reduction and is very valuable for not only rocket jumpers, but even to control a part of the map. That damage reduction will not save you from a point-blank full super shotgun blast, but it will help you in every other situation. Skull Rush with too shallow of an angle for that rocket jump. Seneca, meanwhile, is across and has body block players behind him. He gets to the pedestal right before he drops. 2-1 for OS. Skull Rush trying to get a rebound capture here, and is blocked from the stairwell by a teammate and has to contend with the player on the pedestal. The flag's returned. Seneca with blue armor, not enough health. Flag returned. Dastin with rocket jump across, and he's in his base. He gets cleared by Drangster, but Dragon is right behind him and returns it himself. Seneca with a rocket jump on the pedestal already, waiting to capture again. This time the rocket jump is good for a 3-1 OS's favor. Dragon out to mid. This is how quick the flags are moving on map 14. It is out of control. Skull Rush trying to get a capture off of OS. Cannot get past the pedestal.
Yeah, OS getting Rip off balance and their defender off. They got 2 quick flags there. This is, you know, that's when they're most dangerous, is when they get people off positions.
Even if you carry the flag to midfield, you can almost assuredly guarantee that there will not be a player guarding the pedestal for another quick touch. Skull Rush and Dastin are out at the midfield. Dastin cannot get that one shot off, and both flags eventually end up getting returned at the midpoint of the map. Seneca with low health might get intercepted here from the right side, and he does, but Skull Rush grabbing the flag from OS. Gets out to the middle, but then intercepted. Blue armor's up. Skull Rush grabs it just in time for us to switch to Seneca, and he's dropped.
Yeah, blue armor control pretty much even by both teams, not really making much of a factor.
As we approach the 5-minute mark in the first round,
That was quick.
oh, jeez. We just caught Dastin like through the transparent scoreboard as he rocket jumps across, and it's good for 4-1. OS with a pretty decisive margin so far in round 1. Rip and Tear may have to use the remainder of this round to plan what they're going to do in round 2, which will also be on Mephitic Waste. Frags are about 20 points apart. OS dominating in terms of frag power and in capture power as well. I mean, a margin of 3 flags as we reach halfway into the time limit of round 1. Rip and Tear has to start getting some conversions. They have to start putting OS back on their heels, but it may not happen as OS... Oh! Last second return. Great work from Dragon and company. But Seneca, in the time that we were just talking about that, Seneca was on the pedestal of Rip and Tear to rocket jump across, and that will be 1 point on the board for OS.
Yeah, Rip and Tear was really trying to keep it on the ground there, trying to do their runs on the ground. That's not going to work against Onslaught. That's not good. They're way too good at flooding mid and not letting any runners through. And also, Onslaught really good at getting Stall off of defense. and really just staggered the spawns, and they were able to get flags out as soon as their flag was returned. Pretty good stuff from Onslaught.
As noted, a great strategy when players are clearing the base. You have to have that presence of mind that, hey, are we all chasing the flag carrier? Is there anyone back in our base who could effectively get across so fast like Seneca and Dastin have? Great work from OS to take advantage of that lack of defense, the lack of a reset, and it's something Rip and Tear will have to address as we get into round 2.
That quick jump by Dastin is just a very quick whip the mouse around, point down, and get out of there. It's really, really hard to do.
And it's worth noting that it's tough to guard that midpoint because you're taking yourself away from the bulk of the middle and what you can do for the rest of your team. As we say that in the opening 20 seconds of round 2, Drangzer he made it across. That blue armor helped tremendously in shielding him from certain death. But as we're talking about that run, so unfolds Rip and Tear's own Skull Rush with a nice little clapback, a capback, if you will, to even the score out 1-1.
That was clutch. I mean, he ran it, on the ground and was able to overpower Onslaught. Very hard to do. Props.
And it shows that Rip and Tear is absolutely not going quietly by any stretch of the imagination. A championship-worthy team with tactics of their own. I mean, they're able to score effectively against Onslaught, who is shown to be dominant on map 14. It's, if they tighten it up some, then Skull Rush is across. He's one to beat. Was unable to, but Seneca's across now with blue armor at his back, but not enough distance to shield him from the remainder of that super shotgun. Drangzer being guarded by the rest of OS, and he makes it to the pedestal. Great coverage from Seneca, allowing Drangzer to score that capture 2-1 in favor of Onslaught.
Some good conversions by Onslaught, running to their runner and taking the damage he would.
We watched Dragon drop the flag. It got picked up by Stall, and both flags had a mutual return there. So both flags back on the pedestal, but even 2 minutes into the second round, there are so many touches and runs happening at the same time that it's pretty tough to track, so don't blink.
Small map, lots of action. If you blink, you'll miss most things.
But what we're not missing is the championship title match, so thank you to everybody at home who is tuning in on this lovely Friday for 3 vs 3 capture flag action. The ultimate game of the summer 2021 season.
Yep, the final game.
If you happen to miss any of this broadcast or want to know more about the World Doom League, we have a YouTube account, so be sure to check out that. And it's conveniently pinned on doomleague.org, courtesy of KBlair, the site administrator.
Aston dropping the flag up top, but they still aren't able to get it.
Sometimes with the flag dropped up top, it's a good strategy to have, but you're kind of banking on having that respawn up top, because there is one spawn point up there that can effectively pick up that flag, as we saw early in round 1. As far as carriers go, Seneca crossing mid, Skull Rush looking to get up top himself, and shimmies out of the way of one of OS's players, but in the meantime, their carrier drops, and OS is able to score 3-1.
Nice job by Seneca, doing it all himself, doing the return and the score.
And Dragon is almost all the way across. He gets picked up by Stall, but he's got 2 players directly behind him. The flag gets returned, but he has to beat these players. He gets picked up by Dragon, who can't frag Skull Rush, who then returns it. Dastin now has the flag. Moving up top. Jumps across, but is intercepted. Gets that spawn up top. But it's returned. They were ready for him. Seneca's across. Ready. Returning himself. But he gets intercepted by Stall. And the flag is returned. Dragon now with a touch. Trying to get across, but the flag has to get returned. A failed rocket jump may be all that's needed. Stall tries to return it, but it gets returned. Skull Rush now with another touch because he was on the enemy pedestal. Whew. It is wild. It's the Wild West out here.
Yeah, still 5.5 to go, and I'm out of breath. There's too many things going on.
Yeah, this
game is insane.
Tough to follow even for us, and we've played the game for 20 years.
Sag.
But it shows the ferocity and the technique that these teams have brought to the table. Some of the best that organized capture flag has ever seen. Players continue to get better, more wily, and more technical. It's a sight to see.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible how each team is adapting to each other's playstyle, like on the fly, preventing cutting stuff off.
We're reaching the 5-minute mark, halfway into the second round. Drangster might need to lower his mouse sensitivity. Dude did like 4 360s in the same tick right there, but the fact remains, Rip and Tear has to. They have to have an answer for this. They can't. If they lose both matches on the opening home field, that means they have to win. They're going to have to win on their home field to push it to round 5 or later.
Absolutely a tough position to be in.
Dragon with very low health. One bullet will drop him, and sure does. They were not able to clear mid even with the supporting player. They're guarding the carrier. Seneca with 2 low health to rocket jump even with blue armor.
Rip doesn't seem to be doing that poorly. They're losing a lot of flag standoffs, though, and that's just costing them every time.
Yeah, Rip is going to need to start winning some standoffs. I mean, they're having trouble reaching the midpoint. Meanwhile, players like Seneca are able to just cross with impunity because in that midfield, there's no player guarding that jump point. They have to dedicate more resources to guarding their carrier across the main part of mid and trying to footbridge it over to their flag. They were unsuccessful, and so OS walks away from round 2, the victor, 5-1.
Yeah, sometimes map pick exposes certain skill sets or lack of skill sets. Like Seneca and Dastin are able, and even and Dranzer can do the easy rocket jump out of the base. For some reason, Rip seems to have an aversion to doing that. You know, like maybe it's because they believe their frag power, but unfortunately it cost them 2 rounds here. They need to win the next one in order to extend this one.
It still is a best of 5 in the finals now. Pressure's mounting on Rip and Tear. I mean, even though they beat a very powerful team in the semifinals, they are up against an extremely dominant technical powerhouse in the form of Onslaught. But we'll be getting into round 3 of this championship match. It's match point, title point, championship point for Onslaught, and elimination point for Rip and Tear.
My initial read is that Dastin's playing defense here on map 6.
And Dastin is a player who has played defense for the majority of his matches in this season. So while he is known as a very powerful rocket jump and good runner, he's played excellent defense throughout the season. And Rip and Tear scoring the opening capture, putting a point on the board before Onslaught for the first time, but Drangster just slips right on by Rip and Tear and gets a capture almost effortlessly, but great cover from the rest of Onslaught to ensure that happens. Seneca with a touch and Dragon with a touch of his own, but Dragon has 7 health while Seneca is across. And Seneca gets intercepted while Dragon picks up armor and a little bit of health, but it may not be enough to cross mid. Even a grazing shot will drop you with 20 health and no armor.
Yeah, that was a good adjustment by Onslaught in order to get that. Dastin pushed up all the way to mid to get that return cap.
Yeah, one thing that you may have noticed in the compilation video, but not in the overview, is that the teleporter in the back of the base leads you up to that upper chain gun spawn, which Drangster did not need. He went out the old-fashioned way during the mayhem of the standoff and was able to capture. Now Onslaught is in the lead 2-1. Dragon baiting out one shot, but the second one lands true, and they are able to return the flag. OS is proving to dominate the midfield here as well. Seneca out with 5. A little bit of cover. Drangster takes the rest away, but no, there's a player waiting for him. Last second, Dragon had the flag up top. It's returned for Seneca, and Seneca's able to get it to the pedestal before getting intercepted, but it's too late for Rip and Tear to return that flag. 3-1 now. OS looking extremely dominant in this finals matchup. It could be a 3-round series. It could be all Onslaught.
Yeah, that's certainly looking like that. They're 2 flags away from taking the whole thing home. Rip and Tear, they're playing with a sense of urgency here. That defense from last week is non-existent. I don't know what happened.
And the frag discrepancy doesn't exist either. Both teams looking pretty even on frags, but in terms of how they're utilizing them, that's where the difference is coming from. With OS ahead so early in round 3, Rip and Tear, the momentum is not in their favor, but there's still 7 minutes to go. There's a lot of game left to be played.
This is one of those finals games where, you know, new players come in, they make a name for themselves. Seneca doing some excellent work on Onslaught.
Dragon out. He fired a shot which may have alerted other players to where he's at exactly. Of course, teams nowadays are on voice chat, so communication is of the highest caliber. Seneca does make it to mid. He's got 1 player to beat, but he's got reinforcements behind him. But the flag was returned before anyone could pick up the flag and escort it the rest of the way. Skullrush taking that teleporter up to the top chain gun, going through Waterside. But then, just getting intercepted by Dastin. Seneca, meanwhile, has some health and armor, but can't land a shot in close quarters. Tough to do. Drangs are going out the gate side, out to mid. They can't seem to make it very far. Rip and Tear doing a bit better on defense right now, but they still offensively need to make up that flag difference.
Yep, still plenty of time to do it, but they're going to need to stop this run by Dranzer. Luckily they do.
And they do. Dranzer doesn't even try to shoot anyone who might be behind him, although he may not have been aware. Remember, Doom, there are no footsteps like in Quake, so you have to play much more aware, or at least rely on team communication. Seneca is across mid, goes into the sewer. So now it's on Skullrush to extend this flag standoff. He's got a player behind him, and it gets returned. Seneca all but assuredly has this captured, and he does 4-1. 1 more capture will give Onslaught the Summer 2021 Championship title. And there's still 5 minutes left in this this third and potentially final round. Dragon makes it over to his side, grabs the med kicks, and it's a good hiding spot up here, but it will only last you so long. He still has to make this capture. They get shot from behind. Meanwhile, Dastin holding onto the flag by the teleporter and goes for that trick jump that we talked about earlier. It's tough to make, but it is possible, especially player of Dastin's capabilities. Some rocket coverage drops Dragon so that he can no longer pursue him. And Dastin almost makes a Superman run, but Dragon is there and drops him, returns his own flag, and makes a run out to mid. If the coverage is there, unfortunately it isn't.
Man, that was Dastin with that crazy return. Dragon was juking, but Dastin wasn't falling for it.
Seneca is going out to mid. Got 1 player in front of him and 1 player to the side. Dragon, meanwhile, is in his own side of the sewer with the enemy flag. It needs to get returned so that Rip and Tear can prolong this match. And there's too many players of Onslaught in the base. Dragon unable to convert it. Seneca with a little bit of coverage behind him. Skullrush with another touch. Less than 4 minutes on the clock. They have to get 3 captures. It's starting to come up on they need a capture per minute, which so far has not happened for Rip and Tear. Dranzer with a possession out to mid. Got some coverage. Uses the edge of that platform to kind of hide him, but you have to remember the flag sprite that's overlaid on the Doom guy is wider than Doom guy himself, so they can see the edge of the flag sticking out from that platform. Dragon unable to do that rocket jump up to the sewers, and he's being pursued. Still lots of players to beat out of here at mid. Covers himself twice, but it's not good enough. Seneca has the flag in the Rip and Tear base, and it gets returned. Skullrush. He's got possession. He's trying to burn him, but going waterside, it costs you some time. But he's clearing away. That's the 2nd score on the board for Rip and Tear in the 3rd round. They need 3 more. Or at the very minimum, a tie.
Yeah, a tie would extend this to 4.
But bear in mind, with a tie, they would need to win rounds 4 and 5 to extend it to overtime. But still, Rip and Tear cannot lose this round.
Yeah, they're 1 flag away from losing, becoming 2nd place.
Bunch of losers.
That's right. The WDL only gives crowns to the winner.
Yeah, there is no silver medal in the World Doom League. Skull Rush got coverage at mid there, but it wasn't enough. They weren't able to drop all of Onslaught before the flag got returned. But it proves that Rip and Tear is able to get the flag to that midpoint. If they're able to do it once, twice, they can do it 3 times.
Now we're under a flag a minute here. This is getting pretty dire.
Yeah, they're going to need to start converting some flags now. Skull Rush in his side of the sewers. And flag gets returned for him. But can he get to the pedestal before Onslaught shows up? All of Onslaught is here.
Oh!
You gotta be kidding me. Because Stall escorts it the rest of the way, clears the base. Great work from the team captain of Rip and Tear. What's going to happen with this one possession? Unfortunately, we won't see it enter Stall's point of view, but it's a great start. And if they can get another flag in the last minute of the 3rd round, it will be pushed to round 4. But pressure's starting to mount now. The nails are starting to get hammered into the coffin. It's definitely...
Pressure's on.
Yeah. We're in the final minute of round 3. Onslaught with 2 rounds already on the board. It's a best of 5 if the score holds here. And there's a player in the acid. Dastin returns it. A last-second return.
Who plays there?
A dangerous effort from the team captain. Because you can hear somebody in the acid, but
Not to mention the 20 it takes a second off your health. Like, that's a crazy place to predict. That was insane by Dastin.
We're in the final 20 seconds. Seneca making it almost all the way across. Dragon's out. If they can return this flag. Oh my god. The flag's returned. There is going to be no more possibility of Rip and Tear making it. That last play was all they had. And Onslaught will be going home, your championship team. They'll be making it 1st place. And the title winners are going to be Dastin, Drangzer, Seneca, and King Dime in the summer 2021 season. A phenomenal effort. I'm speechless.
Yeah, that last game was such a heartbreaker, man. After that last standoff, they had him cornered. They knew where he was, but they just couldn't make the frag in time. What a heartbreaker.
And that will be ensuring that Onslaught is going home, the winners of the summer 2021 season. Great effort from Rip and Tear. Those games were close, but unfortunately they weren't able to bring it home in round 3, which, also we're going to have to do this. I'm going to... So the prediction panel, unfortunately, we're going to be giving Ralphis the splat, and I'm going to have to eat a splat too. But, so, hey, Onslaught came home with it. A phenomenal team. And, geez, man, what a play. Of that final play, it really could have gone either way. Rip and Tear should not be disappointed. They made it to the finals, and they had a phenomenal season. So, great game to them. And... if he's here, let's give the closing words from the commissioner of the World Doom League, Ralphis. If he's here.
I'm here. Just processing the game log here. Yeah, I mean, definitely a surprising game, right? As I was saying beforehand, you never really know what's going to happen in this league. And Onslaught really just proved that they deserve this championship this season. So, congratulations to Onslaught, rookie captain Dastin, finally able to bring that ship home as the captain himself after showing up to so many finals. Dranzer and Seneca both played awesome this game, and they really earned this championship. And King Dime didn't play in this game, but he had a pretty cool rookie season too. And although it's going to hurt rip and tear for a while. This loss, I know how it feels. They're nothing to be ashamed of. They had an awesome season. They overcame a lot of different odds put against them. They made it to the finals. So, congrats to Style Dragon, Skull Rush for a great season. It's unfortunate that it didn't end up the way that they probably hoped it would, but only one team can win. So congratulations to Onslaught, and thank you everybody for tuning in this season. We're gonna have a lot of other WDL branded events coming up soon. Also, we're going to be partnering with the Multiplayer Doom Federation, the MDF, on some new events coming up in the very near future. So make sure you check out doomly.org, check out the MDF. A lot of casual events too. So if you just want to start dipping your feet in, playing a little bit, nothing super competitive like the WDL, just stop by, play with us. It's going to be a lot of fun. Hopefully we will run another season by the next summer. There's been some talk about possibly running another WDL season this winter. We don't know if that's going to happen, but definitely by next summer. So we will be back. And thank you again, Zen and Blair, for everything you guys do for the league.
Absolutely, it is our pleasure. And of course, another thank you to KBlair, who has been working very hard on the website this season. Our Stacks backend, who you can check out the website, go to the Stacks and filter it by a billion different options. And I mean, hey, and thank you to the players and to you guys at home. It's been our pleasure and privilege to bring you these broadcasts. And if you missed any of it, check out the YouTube. And that'll be it for the summer 2020 season. Been fun. Thank you, Blair, for co-hosting so many different times. And we'll be playing you guys out with the outro. But have a great rest of your Friday, your weekend, and we'll see you next time for when the World Doom League reconvenes.
Later, dudes.